Yeah, me too.
Alright, I'm hitting record now.
Me too. And then if you wouldn't mind just looking in between our cameras.
Yeah.
Which is actually perfect.
So look
Sure.
at me.
Yep.
Alright, so I will count us down.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and get started. Ready?
Perfect. Ready?
Alright, so 3, 2, 1.
So good afternoon, I'm Mark Totten, the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan. Today, inside this federal courthouse, a federal judge sentenced Arisknight Winfree, 32 years old, of East Lansing, Michigan, to life in prison for sexual exploitation crimes which he committed against 4 women, including 2 minors. Arisknight Winfree is a sexual predator whose horrendous acts caused immeasurable harm to the women and girls upon whom he preyed. Today's lifetime sentence secures a measure of justice for these survivors and is necessary to protect the community. I'd like to say just a little bit about the facts of this case, a couple points about protecting ourselves from the dangers that lurk on the internet, and then I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. The events that happened that were the subject of our prosecution, again, 4 victims, 5 separate counts that we charged, happened in 2022. I'll run through what happened by referring to each of the victims. I'm going to use either for the adult victims, I'll use abbreviations. For the minors, I'll just refer to MV1 and MV2. SD was from Italy. Winfree contacted SD through aupair.com, where he was pretending to seek somebody to serve as an au pair, somebody who would provide childcare and housekeeping responsibilities. He was not intending to do that. When SD arrived from Italy, within a short period of time, he bound her, he put a gag ball in her mouth, and then he raped her. He intended at one point to kill her, to hide the evidence, but was talked out of it by a friend. The next victim, AS, was from Kansas. AS also was put in contact with Winfree through aupair.com, intending to come here to serve in that type of capacity. Again, she was tricked by Winfree, who was seeking to lure his victims here to East Lansing. Her parents realized that something wasn't right. There was a welfare check, and she was able to escape. We charged Winfree with attempted coercion and enticement for this crime. And then the last 2 victims were both minors. MV1, minor victim 1, Winfree contacted through Instagram, solicited and received sexually explicit images, picked her up at her high school, took her to his house, engaged in sexual acts with her, and for this crime we charged him with production of child pornography. The last victim was MV2. Again, Winfree targeted his victim through social media, this time through Snapchat, received sexually explicit images after soliciting them, and again we charged Winfree with production of child pornography. We also know that at this point in time that Winfree sought to connect with multiple college students, females from Michigan State University, pretended to be a college student when he was not, and in some cases he was successful, in some cases he was not. I want to just wrap up by reminding all of the viewers, everyone who is listening, what I often try to remind people when we see these types of crimes that involve predatory acts through the internet, is that the devices we carry, our connectedness through the internet, pose incredible risks to people that we need to be mindful of. I'm not suggesting that those would have prevented everything that happened in this case, but as I always like to do, I just want to remind people, first of all, don't assume that people are who they say they are. Be wary of anyone that you meet through the internet. I'd also just mention that a reminder to never And then lastly, just a reminder of parents to talk with your kids about the dangers that lurk on our devices, the dangers of the internet, of social media, monitor their use on social media, and remind them that if they ever mess up, that they can always come and talk to you. I'll just wrap up by saying thank you. I want to say thanks to the East Lansing Police Department, the Michigan State University Police Department, and the FBI for the tremendous, thoughtful, careful work they did in this investigation. And then I also want to say thanks to my team, to everyone who worked on it, including Assistant U.S. Attorney Davin Roost, who was the lead prosecutor. With that, I'll finish, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to take a few.
Could you talk a little bit more about the investigation? How did he get on the radar, and how did you zero in on him?
I think in this case, the victims contacted law enforcement. In the case of AS, the parents realized that something was not right and called the East Lansing Police Department and asked for a welfare check. Of course, we know that as soon as SD was able to escape the horrible situation at Winfree's house, she was in touch with law enforcement as well. FBI, the East Lansing Police Department, Michigan State University Police Department as well moved very swiftly. Investigations take a time. We're in 2024. These acts happened in 2022. But we were able to move as quickly as possible to secure the evidence we need and to eventually bring these charges and lead to the place we're at today.
I would say, do you think that people, the victims, do you think that there was a sense of justice for them? Are they at peace with it?
I've not had a chance to talk to the victims since sentencing happened just this morning. I will say, he received, short of the death penalty, the strongest penalty that you can receive in the system. At one point, the judge looked at Mr. Winfree and said, "Mr. Winfree, you are a sexual predator." She was asked to give him something short of life, and she decided not to do that. That's what we asked the court to do. We asked for a life sentence in this case. We think it is necessary to protect the community. We also think it's necessary to secure a measure of justice for these survivors.
I'm not sure if you covered this, and I'm sorry if I'm asking you to repeat yourself, but is there any possibility of parole, anything of him getting out short of life?
There is not. Absent some type of change in the law, which we don't anticipate, he will spend the rest of his life in prison.
Can you speak to how you're feeling about this? I know happy is probably the wrong word in a situation like this, but how are you feeling about the verdict?
This indictment came down the day after the MSU mass shooting. And so we were all already reeling. And we were going to talk to the press when it came down because we believed what happened was important enough. Of course, we didn't do that because of what happened at MSU. But from the moment I first read about what happened in this case, I was horrified. I have a teenage daughter. I have a teenage son. I think parents who are in similar position and anyone who's been in that position can imagine how horrifying it would be to experience what these victims experienced. And so, in this kind of business, we never secure justice in the sense that we make everything perfect, but we can secure a measure of justice. And I think that's what we accomplished today.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all.